We're going to go over the anatomy of the hand and foot this morning so that we'll know how to make our massage manipulations and our manicures and pedicures more successful and more pleasing for our clients. We're just going to do a brief overview of a couple of things that we studied before in anatomy, so we'll be back familiar and bring them back to mind. And the first of those are the organs. Organs are structures designed to accomplish a specific function. The most important organs of the body are described below. The brain controls the body. The heart circulates the blood. The lungs supply oxygen to the blood. The liver removes toxic products of digestion. The kidneys excrete water and other waste products. And the stomach and intestines digest food. And the organs are vitally important to us because anything that concerns the body is going to concern our hair, nails, and skin. And we don't want to confuse our organs and systems. Systems are groups of these organs that cooperate for a common purpose. And namely for us, that's the welfare of our entire body. The human body is made up of 10 important systems. And this never ceases to amaze me. When I studied it, the body was made up of 9 systems. So we didn't actually accumulate another system in those years, believe it or not. But they changed the skin or the integumentary system and put it in as a system. So the integumentary system is composed of 2 distinct layers, the dermis and the epidermis. The skin provides a protective covering. It contains sensory receptors that give us our sense of touch and also helps regulate the temperature of the body. And as we go through this, one of the roles that the skin plays, and from our point of view, we're not talking about protection. From our point of view, we're talking about beautification. And it reminds me of something I saw on the news this morning, so I want to share this with you. With all the things that's shut down in Mississippi and Louisiana, with the flood going through there, very few things are opening back up, but a couple of beauty salons have opened up. As a matter of fact, one was destroyed, and this cosmetologist went in and asked another one to take her and her clients in. And these people that don't have a home, these homes have been destroyed, and y'all may have seen this on the news, they're going to the beauty salon because these women have been running around there with baseball caps, no shampoo or anything to wash their hair with. And some of the newscasters went in and said, how can you be doing this at a time like this when you don't have a home or anything? And they said, we need something to make us feel better. And a lot of people see this as vanity, but it's sanity for us to build ourselves back up and realize that we can get back to a normal state of life. So when talking about the skin, from our point of view, we're talking about in massages and manicures and pedicures, we want to make their skin look good too, and soft and smooth, and help them deal with the problems with it. The skeletal system is the physical foundation or framework of the body. The bones of the skeletal system serve as a means of protection, support, and locomotion or movement. The muscular system covers, shapes, and supports the skeleton. Its function is to produce all the movements of the body. The muscles are one of the things we're concerned with as we go through our massage manipulations and manicuring and pedicuring so that we can help tone the muscles. And you may notice when you get a little tense, your muscles seem to tighten up. So we want to loosen up these muscles and make our client feel relaxed. The nervous system controls and coordinates the function of all the other systems of the body. So we're dealing with the nervous system too, and to help them relieve the stresses. Circulatory system supplies blood throughout the body. And it would be hard to stand here and tell you how important that is because healthy hair, skin, and nails are fed directly through the bloodstream. And people have circulatory problems. And sometimes with these circulatory problems, we know we can't massage without permission from their physician. But we know that it's vitally important that that bloodstream does feed our cells so that they can reproduce and replace themselves. The endocrine system is made up of ductless glands that secrete hormones into the bloodstream. The excretory system eliminates waste from the body. The respiratory system supplies oxygen to the body. The digestive system changes food into substances that can be used by cells of the body. And the reproductive system enables us to reproduce. The integumentary system is the largest system of the body and is the organ system in which the nail technician will be most closely involved. Most products used by nail technicians or cosmetologists will have some effect, either direct or indirect, on this organ system. The function of this system, which includes the skin and its accessory organs such as the oil and sweat glands, the sensory receptors, the hair and nails, is to provide a protective covering and sensory receptors for a sense of touch. This system also plays an important role in regulating the temperature of the body. So we know that the accessory organ, sebaceous glands or oil glands, are vitally important to us, especially when we get a client in that's legs seem to be real dry and scaly. We want to get those sebaceous glands working and secreting some oil to that skin. We also want to put creams and all in there to soften, and sloughing lotion and pedicures to get rid of the dry skin. Skeletal system is the physical foundation of the body. The entire skeleton is composed of 206 bones. They have a variety of shapes, and they are connected by movable and immovable joints. Do y'all remember where the immovable joints are? The immovable joints. They're in the skull. We have joints there, but they do not move. You know, like our joints here move, and our joints here move, and our joints here move. Those in the head are immovable joints. Bone is the hardest tissue of the body with the exception of tooth enamel. It's composed of connective tissues consisting of about 1/3 animal or organic matter, such as cells and blood, and 2/3 mineral or inorganic matter, and that would be calcium carbonate and calcium phosphate. Scientific study of the bones, their structure and functions, is called osteology. The technical term for bone is os. Some of the functions of the skeletal system is that it gives shape and support to the body. It also protects various internal structures and organs. It serves as attachment for muscles and acts as levers to produce body movements. It also produces various blood cells in the red bone marrow. And they're capable of storing various minerals such as calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and sodium. Bone is a hard connective tissue consisting of bone cells called osteocytes. These cells are embedded within a hard substance primarily composed of calcium carbonate and calcium phosphate. By weight, bone is composed of 75% non-living substance and 25% living cells. Bones are covered by a specialized connective tissue called periosteum. This periosteum serves a number of functions. Cells within the periosteum aid in bone repair after injury. It also serves as a point of attachment to the bone for muscles and tendons. Are we concerned with attachments? We are. We're concerned with where the muscles are attached to the bones, because we never want to pull away from the origin of a muscle. What would occur if we massage against the origin and massage to? We're going to pull that muscle loose. We want to pull from the insertion, which is more stretchable or elastic part. The bone immediately under the periosteum is hard and compact and is called cortical bone. Underlying the cortical bone is a spongy lattice-like layer of bone called cancellous bone. The center of long bones is hollow and filled with a connective tissue called marrow. Marrow also fills the spaces within cancellous bone, and its primary function is to produce blood cells. Bone receives its nutrition from arteries that penetrate the periosteum and enter the bone structure through a series of microscopic canals or tunnels called Havasiran canals. This system of canals is throughout the bone and allows the delivery of nutrients to all living tissue within the bone structure. The structures that are attached to the bone include cartilage and ligament. Cartilage is a tough elastic substance similar to bone but has no mineral content. Cartilage cushions the bones at the joints and gives shape to some external features such as the nose and ears. Ligaments are bands or sheets of fibrous tissue that support and connect the bones at the joints. The various bones of the body meet at junctions called joints. Bones are connected together at joints by ligaments and a bag-like structure called the joint capsule. The ligaments give the joint strength, while the capsule encloses and seals off the joint from the surrounding tissues. Within the joint, each end of the bone is covered with cartilage, which helps to cushion the joint as well as to give a smooth surface on which the joint moves. The joint is filled with synovial fluid, which acts as a lubricant for the joint. So we know that we go have our oil changed in our car so that the oil circulates through and keeps the moving parts or their joints working. Our body actually has the synovial fluid. Synovial fluid also helps to furnish nourishment to the cartilage of the joint. Although most joints move in many ways, there are some, like those that connect various bones of the skull, that do not move. The non-movable joints, therefore, generally do not have a joint capsule and do not have synovial fluid. They may or may not be connected together by ligaments, and they do not have cartilage covering the ends of the bone. At pivot joints like the neck, one bone turns on another bone. Y'all remember the movie The Exorcist where the head turned all the way around? Our pivot joint's not quite that good, but that's what they were getting at with the pivot joint, with having her head spin around. At hinge joints, which are found in the elbow and knee, two or more bones connect like a door. At a ball and socket joint, such as hip or shoulder, one bone is rounded and fits into the socket, a hollow part of another bone. In gliding joints, which are found in the ankle and wrist, two bones glide over each other. Can you tell that your wrist and ankle move differently because they'll move in side to side and back to front? Bones of the arm and hand. The scapula and the clavicle form the shoulder. We also know the clavicle is known as the collarbone, and a lot of kids, through climbing and falling, break their collarbone or their clavicle. The humerus is the uppermost and largest bone of the arm, and that's why when we bump our elbow, it's called the funny bone, which is not funny, but it comes from the name of the uppermost and largest bone, the humerus. Ulna. Do we remember what we named ulna? It is. It's on the little finger side of the hand, but it's the large bone. The large bone goes with the little finger. Then we go to the radius, which is on the thumb side, but it's the small bone of the forearm. The carpus or wrist is a flexible joint composed of 8 small irregular bones held together by ligaments. And the 5 metacarpals are the bones of the palm of the hand. They are long and slender, and we know what those 5 metacarpals are going to. They're going to our fingers, our digits. So the digits or fingers consist of 3 phalanges in each finger, but only 2 in the thumb, to total 14 bones. Bones of the leg and foot. The femur is a heavy, long bone that forms the leg above the knee. We're not really concerned about above the knee because our manipulations can only go to the knee. The tibia is the larger of the 2 bones that form the leg below the knee. The tibia may be visualized as a bump on the big toe side of the ankle. So we got the tibia on the big toe side. The fibula is the smaller of the 2 bones that form the leg below the knee. The fibula may be visualized as a bump on the little toe side of the ankle. So now we've got the little bone connecting to the little toe and the big bone connecting to the big toe. The patella is also called the accessory bone, and it forms the kneecap joint. The foot is made up of 26 bones. They can be subdivided into 3 general categories: 7 tarsal bones, 3 caniform bones, and 5 metatarsal bones, which are long and slender like the metacarpal bones of the hands. So we know where those 5 metatarsal bones are going to on the foot, right to our toes. Also 14 bones called phalanges, which compose the toes. The phalanges are similar to finger bones. There are 3 phalanges in each toe except for the big toe, which has only 2. The muscular system covers, shapes, and supports the skeleton. Its function is to produce all movements of the body. Myology is the study of the structure, functions, and diseases of the muscles. The muscular system consists of over 500 muscles, both large and small, comprising 40 to 50% of the weight of the human body. Muscles are fibrous tissues that stretch and contract according to what we do in our movements. Different types of movements, such as stretching and bending, depend on muscles performing in specific ways. We have three kinds of muscular tissue. Striated muscles are voluntary muscles that you move whenever you want them to move. Muscles of the face, arm, and leg are striated. The word striated means striped. Non-striated muscles are involuntary. Muscles of the stomach and intestines are non-striated. These muscles function automatically. Non-striated means they're smoothed or not striped. Cardiac muscle is heart muscle, which is not found anywhere else in the body. One of the most important things we want to talk about now are the parts of our muscle, because this controls where and how we massage. A typical striated muscle is composed of a mass of muscle fibers called the belly of the muscle. The belly is attached at each end to a bone or other structure by a tendon. The more fixed or least movable attachment is called the origin, and that word least movable is a tip to us: do not be pulling on it in massage. The more movable attachment is called the insertion of the muscle. When the belly of the muscle contracts, the muscle itself shortens, causing movement of the part in which it inserts. Tendons are composed of strong fibrous tissues and may appear as a flat layer of tissue, but are usually seen as a round rope-like cord. Tendons are smooth and have a white, glistening appearance. How do we stimulate these muscles? Now, we've talked about massage, so now we want to know what different ways we can stimulate them. First, and if you'll notice when you get a little tense or nervous, you can feel your muscles begin to tighten. So nerve impulses through the nervous system can stimulate them. Massage using either your hands or an electric vibrator. Also electric currents that are applied to the muscle area to produce visible muscle contractions. If you have problems and go to a chiropractor, they're apt to put electrical current on there. Light rays such as infrared rays and ultraviolet rays. Even heat rays stimulate muscles. We use heating lamps or heating caps or even our dryers. Moist heat such as steamers or moderately warm steam towels, and also chemicals that can introduce certain acids and salts. As a nail technician, we're concerned with the voluntary muscles of the hands, the arms, the legs, and the feet. So we need to know where these muscles are located and what they control. Pressure in massage is directed from the insertion towards the origin. Muscles of the shoulder and upper arm. The deltoid is a large, thick, triangular muscle that covers the shoulder and lifts and turns the arm. Biceps, we learned about these probably in kindergarten or first grade. Biceps is the muscle on the front of the upper arm that lifts the forearm, flexes the elbow, and turns the palm up. Has two heads or points of attachment. The triceps then are muscles that cover the entire back of the upper arm and extend the forearm forward. They have three heads or points of attachments. The forearm contains a series of muscles and strong tendons. The pronator turns the hand inward so the palm faces downward. Supinators turn the hand outward so the palm faces upward. Flexors bend the wrist, draw the hand upward, closes the fingers toward the forearm. And extensors, we extend. Extensors straightens the wrist, hand, and fingers to form a straight line. The hand has many small muscles that overlap from joint to joint, giving flexibility and strength. When the hands are properly cared for, these muscles will remain supple and graceful. They close and open the hands and the fingers. And we remember this from our earlier anatomy. Adductors draw the fingers together. We add our fingers together. Abductors, on the other hand, separate our fingers. Opponent muscles are located in the palm of the hand and act to bring the thumb towards the fingers, allowing the grasping action of the hand. And we use those muscles an awful lot in our business. We also need to use our knowledge of the foot and leg during pedicures. The muscles of the foot are small and provide proper support and cushioning for the foot and leg. The extensor digitorum longus bends the foot up and extends the toes. The tibialis anterior covers the front of the shin. It bends the front foot upward and inward. The peroneus longus covers the outer side of the calf. It inverts the foot and turns it outward. The peroneus brevis originates on the lower surface of the fibula. It bends the foot down and out. The gastrocnemius is attached to the lower rear surface of the heel, pulls the foot down. The soleus originates at the upper part of the fibula and bends the foot down. And again, soleus to me would sound like it would be on the sole or the bottom of the foot, but it actually tells us it originates at the upper part of the fibula. The nervous system. Neurology is the branch of medicine that deals with the nervous system and its disorders. The nervous system is one of the most important systems of the body because it controls and coordinates the functions of all the other systems and makes them work in harmony. And I remember a test, and y'all may remember this too, where that was a question that said, what controls and coordinates the function of all the other systems? And I had a couple of students to debate me on it, and I can't remember what the other answer was, but they thought that, I think that it was muscles. But actually it's the nervous system that controls and coordinates all the other systems. Every square inch of our body is supplied with fine fibers called nerves. We should study the nervous system in order to understand the effect massage has on the nerves of the feet, legs, hands, arms, and the whole body. The nervous system is composed of three divisions: the central nervous system, the peripheral system, and the autonomic nervous system. Cerebrospinal or central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord and controls consciousness of all mental activities. It also controls functions of our five senses, which are seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, and hearing. Controls voluntary muscle actions such as all body movements and facial expressions. Peripheral system is made up of the sensory and motor nerve fibers that extend from the brain and spinal cord and are distributed to all parts of the body. Its function is to carry messages to and from the central nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is the portion of the nervous system that functions without conscious effort and regulates the activities of the smooth muscles, glands, blood vessels, and heart. This system has two divisions, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems, and they act in direct opposition to each other. That was also a question on the test that I got challenged on because the new book in anatomy does not name the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. They regulate such things as heart rate, blood pressure, breathing rate, and body temperature to aid the body in maintenance of homeostasis, or normal internal stability. The sympathetic division is primarily activated during stressful or energy demanding or emergency situations. The parasympathetic division is most active in ordinary, restful, energy conserving situations. The brain and the spinal cord. The brain is the largest mass of nerve tissue in the body and is contained in the cranium. The weight of the average brain is 44 to 48 ounces. It's considered to be the central processing unit of the body, sending and receiving digital messages. 12 pairs of cranial nerves originate in the brain and reach various parts of the head, face, and neck. And that always kind of astounds me too when we go into the how many pairs are in the spinal cord. There's 12 pairs in the brain. Spinal cord is composed of masses of nerve cells with fibers running upward and downward. But the spinal cord does originate in the brain. It extends the length of the trunk and is enclosed and protected by the spinal column. 31 pairs of spinal nerves that extend from the spinal cord are distributed to the muscles and skin of the trunk limbs. Some of the spinal nerves supply the internal organs that are controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. A neuron or nerve cell is the primary structural unit of the nervous system. It is composed of a cell body, of dendrites, which receive messages from other neurons, also an axon and axon terminal, which send messages to other neurons, glands, or muscles. Nerves themselves are long white cords made of masses of neurons that carry these messages to and from parts of the body. Nerves have their origin in the brain and in the spinal cord and distribute branches to all parts of the body. And we have several sorts of nerves in our body. Our sensory nerves are also called afferent nerves. They carry impulses or messages from our sense organs to the brain, where sensations of touch, cold, heat, sight, hearing, taste, smell, pain, and even pressure are experienced. Motor nerves are also called efferent nerves. They carry impulses from the brain to the muscles. The transmitted impulses produce our movements. Mixed nerves, and I call these the smart nerves, contain both sensory and motor nerve fibers, so they can send or receive messages. Sensory nerve endings are called receptors. They're located near the surface of the skin. An impulse passes from the sensory nerves to the brain and then back over the motor nerves to the muscles. A complete circuit is established and movements of the muscles will result. A reflex is an automatic involuntary response to a stimulus that involves the transmission of an impulse from a sensory receptor along an afferent nerve to the spinal cord and a responsive impulse along an efferent neuron to a muscle. This is called a reaction. An example of a reflex is the quick removal of the hand from a hot object. This reflex action does not have to be learned, and it goes back to the case of the children. You tell them, do not touch the hot stove, it will burn you. Do not touch the hot stove, it will burn you. Do not touch the hot stove, it will burn you. But they're going to touch the hot stove. But you do not have to tell them to move their hand. That reflex is there. We know to move our hand right away, or they know that too. Nerves of the arm and hand. The ulnar, and here we're back. Now instead of ulna, it's ulnar. The ulnar nerve and its branches supply the small finger side of the arm and the palm of the hand. The radial nerve and its branches supply the thumb side of the arm and the back of the hand. The median nerve is a smaller nerve than the ulnar and radial nerves. With its branches, it supplies the arm and hand. And the digital nerve, and we know what digits are, the digital nerves and its branches supply all fingers of the hand. Nerves of the lower leg and foot. The tibial nerve is a division of the sciatic nerve, passes behind the knee. It subdivides and supplies impulses to the knee, to the muscles of the calf, to the skin of the leg, and the sole, heel, and underside of the toes. The common peroneal nerve, also a division of the sciatic nerve, extends from behind the knee to wind around the head of the fibula to the front of the leg, where it divides into two branches. The deep peroneal nerve, also known as the anterior tibial nerve, extends down the front of the leg behind the muscles. Do y'all remember our descriptive terms that we learned in anatomy? Anterior, superior. So there's anterior. That's the tip does that it's going to be in front. It supplies impulses to these muscles and also to the muscles and skin on the top of the foot and the adjacent sides of the first and second toes. The superficial peroneal nerve, also known as the musculocutaneous nerve, extends down the leg just under the skin, supplying impulse to the muscle and skin of the leg, as well as to the skin and toes of the top of the foot, where it is called the dorsal or dorsal cutaneous nerve. Y'all remember what cutaneous was, where the subcutaneous tissue was in the skin? Wasn't that the fatty layer right under the dermis? The saphenous nerve supplies impulses to the skin of the inner side of the leg and foot. Sural nerve supplies impulses to the skin on the outer side and back of the foot and leg. And the dorsal nerve supplies impulses to the skin on top of the foot. Circulatory system. Circulatory or vascular system is vital to the maintenance of good health. Controls the steady circulation of the blood through the body by means of the heart and the blood vessels. And those blood vessels are arteries, veins, and capillaries. The blood vascular system consists of the heart and blood vessels and circulate the blood. The lymphavascular or lymphatic system consists of lymph glands and vessels through which a slightly yellow fluid called lymph circulates. These two systems are intimately linked with each other. Lymph is derived from the blood and flows gradually back into the bloodstream. The heart is a muscular cone-shaped organ about the size of a closed fist, located in the chest cavity and enclosed in a membrane called the pericardium. It is an efficient pump that keeps blood moving within the circulatory system. At the normal resting rate, the heart beats about 72 to 80 times a minute. The vagus, or 10th cranial nerve, and nerves from the autonomic nervous system regulates the heartbeat. And there's a couple of us in here that understands about the heartbeat rate and how important it is if it gets out of control, and it very easily can get out of control. The interior of the heart contains 4 chambers. The upper thin wall chambers are called the right and left atrium. The lower thick wall chambers are the right and left ventricles. Valves allow the blood to flow in only one direction. With each contraction and relaxation of the heart, the blood flows in, travels from the atria, meaning both the right and left atrium, to the ventricles. It's then driven out to be distributed all over the body. Another name for the atrium is the auricle. Blood vessels include arteries, capillaries, or veins that are tube-like in construction. They transport blood to and from the heart into various tissues of the body. Arteries are the thick wall muscular and elastic tubes that carry oxygen-filled blood from the heart throughout the body. And I leave off the word from. I say arteries, take it away. The A for arteries and away. So I'm going away from the heart. Veins carry blood that lacks oxygen from the capillaries back to the heart. They are thin-walled blood vessels that are less elastic than arteries. These are the ones that contain the valves that prevent backflow, and we certainly don't want the dirty blood backflowing into our clean blood supply. Veins are located closer to the outer surface of the body than arteries are. Capillaries then are the thin-walled, tiny blood vessels that connect the smaller arteries to the veins. Through their walls, the tissues receive nourishment and eliminate waste products. You remember when we were talking about the hair going through the zone of keratinization, that the blood seeped from the capillaries where it was into the hair bulb, and our hair cells begin to form. Blood is a nutritive fluid that moves throughout the circulatory system. It's a red, salty fluid with a consistency similar to that of tomato juice. Its normal temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius. It makes up about 1/20th of the weight of our body. Approximately 8 to 10 pints of blood fill the blood vessels of an adult. Blood is bright red in color in the arteries, except for the pulmonary artery. It's dark red in the veins, except for in the pulmonary vein. Why do you think it's a different color in the veins than it is in the arteries?
Because of the oxygen and
But
waste in it?
that's right. The waste in the dark red and the fresh oxygen in the bright red. And it tells us as the change in color is due to the exchange of carbon dioxide for oxygen as the blood passes through the lungs, and the exchange of oxygen for carbon dioxide as the blood circulates throughout the body. Blood is in constant circulation from the moment it leaves the heart until it returns. There are two systems that control the circulation. Pulmonary circulation is the blood circulation that goes from the heart to the lungs where it's purified. We also know that the kidneys help to purify blood. Systemic or general circulation is the blood circulation from the heart throughout the body and back again to the heart. Blood is composed of red and white corpuscles, platelets, and plasma. The function of red corpuscles or erythrocytes is to carry oxygen to the cell. White corpuscles or white blood cells or leukocytes perform the function of destroying disease-causing germs. Blood platelets or thrombocytes are much smaller than the red blood cells, but they play an important part in the clotting of the blood, and that's vitally important to us if we get a nick or cut or something, that it clots so it quits bleeding. Plasma is the fluid part of the blood in which the red and white blood cells and blood platelets flow. It is straw-like in color and is about 9/10 water. It carries food and secretion to the cells and also carbon dioxide from the cells. The primary function of the blood are that it carries water, oxygen, food, and secretion to all cells of the body. Carries away carbon dioxide and waste products to be eliminated through the lungs, skin, kidneys, and large intestine. Helps to equalize the body temperature, thus protecting the body from extreme heat and cold. It aids in protecting the body from harmful bacteria and infections through the action of the white blood cells. It clots, thereby closing tiny injured blood vessels and preventing the loss of blood. The ulnar and the radial arteries are the main supply for the arm and hand. We know where the ulnar is, on the little finger side. So the ulnar artery and its numerous branches supply the little finger side of the arm and the palm of the hand. And the radial artery and its branches supply the thumb side of the arm and the back of the hand. The important veins are located almost parallel with the arteries, and they take the same name. While the arteries are found deep in the tissue, the veins lie nearer to the surface of the arms, hands, legs, and feet. There are several major arteries that supply blood to the lower leg and foot. But the Popliteal Artery divides into two separate arteries known as the anterior tibial. We know anterior, that's a key word. And the posterior tibial. The anterior tibial goes to the foot and becomes the dorsalis pedis, which supplies the foot with blood. As in the arm and hand, the important veins of the lower leg and foot are almost parallel with the arteries, so they take the same name. The lymphovascular system, also called the lymphatic system, acts as an aid to the blood system. Consists of lymph spaces, lymph vessels, and lymph glands. Lymph itself is a slightly yellow, watery fluid that is made from the plasma of blood. It's created when the plasma filters through the capillary walls into tissue spaces. The tissue found in the tissue spaces bathes all cells and trades its nutritive materials to the cells for the waste products of metabolism. This fluid is absorbed into the lymphatics or lymph capillaries to become lymph. It's then filtered and detoxified as it passes through the lymph nodes. It's eventually reintroduced into the bloodstream, or blood circulation. Primary functions of lymph are that it reaches parts of the body that are not reached by the blood. It also carries on an interchange with the blood. It carries nourishment from the blood to the body cells. Acts as a bodily defense against invading bacteria and toxins. It removes waste material from the body cells to the blood, and it provides a suitable fluid environment for our cells. We have questions. We got it all together.